First thing was branding. How do you differentiate yourself? There are t-shirt manufacturers, blouse manufacturers, and all kind of categories. So what makes you different? I have a small little video which may explain a little bit. This is pet adoption. Do you think Harvey is going home with them or no? Damn right he is, okay? You know what? Those were the days when we used to hire merchandisers. Merchandisers in America is a different term. It generally is the owners who understand what will sell to who, at what price, and who are their competitors. This was a market intelligence. Most of the time it was the owners in the small companies or the merchandisers were brought in who had connections with the retailers because the retailers respected them for their knowledge. Those were the days. Today is the computers. It doesn't matter what you look like. If your numbers are performing, you're back in the business. Otherwise, you're not. But you have to understand what the market is, who you're going after. So I have put together a small little presentation on this one, and after that, we're going to open for question and answers. We get a lot of questions from people. How do we enter into U.S. market? It's okay. I'm fine. It's phenomenal market. It's a huge market. Opportunities are there. It's just a matter of doing what we call the chance. Where do we take the chance? As a young boy, I used to go hunting with my father. And near the Yamuna River, there was the murgabis. They fly. And you used to have 12-bore shotgun, which had the little pellets. So we would shoot as kids. As the birds fly, you shoot, and a lot of them fall down. And you find out some of them didn't even get hit. They just fell down because the others were falling, okay? That's what murgabis do, okay? This is trend and followers. But the opportunity was a flock, a huge flock that I could go in and take a shot and get a chance. Maybe somebody will come my way, okay? Here's the U.S. market. It's a huge market. But understanding the U.S. market and the apparel textile, this is what I want to talk about. How we are going to succeed in that global marketplace. To understand this, I've separated that into distribution channels. How do we enter into the U.S. market? What are the labeling requirements? What are the regulations? And what are the financing? How are we going to put it together, okay? Distribution channels. Those were the days when we were just selling to a large retailer. Today we have specialty stores, and we're selling through web, vertical stores, TVs, and department stores. Mobile, m-commerce is huge right now, pop-up stores, big box, catalog, kiosks, you name it, there is opportunities all over. Question is, who do you want to deal with? Focus on that. Who are these people? The department stores are like the Macy's and the Nordstroms and the JCPenney's and so on. But then there are a lot of specialty chains, the Nordstrom, the Saks. Their price points are different. Their product quality are different. Their fabrics are different. The mass merchants like Walmart, Target, yeah, their quantities are different. Their prices are different. But their styles may be same. They may be in the tail end or in the middle of the trend. But they understand from the specialty stores who purchase smaller quantities sold at a higher price and they had a great sell-through in every size and color, or whichever the trend was, the second tier, the Macy's and JCPenney's, would be able to pick up from there. Their quantities will be larger than the Saks and the Nordstroms. And the Walmart's quantity will be even larger, but the prices will be lower. So that's how the fashion travels from the top end all the way to the streets, okay? Of course, there are a lot of discount chains, but the discount chains will always have 3 to 5 months behind the trends. And people understand that. But again, they're buying it for the price. So it goes on all the way. But again, who are our customers? Who are the top 10 retailers around the world? Okay, Macy's, TJ Maxx, these are the American guys. And then, of course, there are successes of Zara's and Kohl's and Penny's and H&M's and Eston's and Gap and Nordstrom, and then we go on. But question now is, what is the total number? What is the big pie? In USA, we're doing about 200 billion. But out of that, women's clothing, men's, and children. So now you need to focus. Who do you want to design for? What is your share of the market? Within that, where do you want to go? Where is the trend going? The specialty stores are doing about 65 billion, and they're growing at about 6.5%. I'll be able to share the data with you guys if you need any more information, because it's very hard to take the note. The highest growth right now is going into the manufactured owned. The brands like Guess and the BCBGs, okay, they want to control their own pricing, their quality, and their margins, and they're opening their own retail stores. But they don't design everything. They do buy from others. The opportunities are available if you look at, but question now is, how do we enter in there, in that market, okay? There are regional preferences. USA, from one end to the other, believe it or not, it's like going in through 5 different countries. I live in Los Angeles. To go to New York is 5.5-hour flight, 3-hour time difference. I can get to Hong Kong. I can get to the Asian countries when I'm in Asia at less time than I can travel within the United States, okay? I'm sorry, your customer's calling, okay? Just calling. We leave our phones on all the time. So really, going back to the regional preferences, okay, you have to understand where. Again, in there, which product and how you're going to get to the consumer. Who is your contact? Are you doing what we call the extended marketing channel? In the extended marketing channel, you're the manufacturer, you're selling it to the wholesaler, who's selling it to the retailer, who's selling to the consumer. A lot of exporters do that right now for New York-based companies and some companies within Europe, but they are not even informed what's going on. Their cycle times are longer, their quantities are larger, but then there are price issues. Everybody knows what you're getting. Limited marketing channels where we are working with a branded or private label companies. Who are these private label companies? Manufacturer to retailer. You're the manufacturer. You're selling directly to the retailer who's selling to consumer, but that retailer is a private label. And that's where the growth is right now. And they have no design capabilities. They are actually looking up to you because you are much more informed. And of course, there's direct marketing channels where you are the manufacturer and you're selling directly to consumer. Anybody who understands where e-commerce is going, be prepared. That's where your biggest opportunity is going to come in to establish a new brand and to make it happen. But then that has its own challenges, and we can talk about that. You know, we talk about challenges in retail. Technology has done a lot of damage also to a lot of retailers and the fashion business. We talk about taking information. Those of you who have a smartphone, can you just raise your hands? All right, everybody has it, right? Imagine 7 years ago, there was no smartphone. There was no iPhone. This is the extent. This is the viral which has taken over our lives. But it has also created a lot of challenges. Today, a consumer can walk into a retail store and through a barcode scanner or a QR code scanner can just scan the label. And not only the system tells me right away where else can I buy it at how much less money than where I am right now. So what has happened, the retail store, the fashion store has become just a showroom for people to come or try on the clothing and buy from someplace else or order online on Amazon. So now individuality has become an issue. A lot of the retailers and the private label manufacturers are telling their own brands, if you're going to make it for me, that code is going to be only for me. We talk about supply chains. This is today's supply chain. Soak it in. Look at that. Your final test is the consumer. They buy it and they keep it. Every e-commerce company has only one challenge, and that is a twofold. First, they have to make a presentation where the website should show buy me, buy me, buy me. And when you make the sale, you cross your fingers, keep me, keep me, keep me when it arrives at home, because the average return rate is about 40%. I was speaking to Eric Nordstrom, and something very interesting he said. He said, we got 3 people in our return center whose job is to smell the garments when the garments come back, to make sure that it can be refreshed and sent back into the stock or have to be thrown away. So I don't think there's anybody here who wants to apply for the job there, okay? The idea is to reduce that. So retail business, what is their business plan for going forward, okay, talking to them? They want to develop more into the private label because they get higher profit. They're cutting out the middleman. They're getting it straight from the manufacturers. But they don't have the same luxury also, which is I could return the goods, I could send them a charge back because I'm buying from a third party who's got it made from you. I am now doing something entirely different. I'm opening my transaction directly with you, and I'm the one who's taking the risk as a retailer. So you, if you need to be in that business, you have to take the pain of that retailer away by doing 2 things. A, by adding value. Yesterday, those of you who were here yesterday, you were listening to David Brinbaum, and he painted a very grim picture of our country. Some of that was harsh reality. But then there are a lot of other factors that we can actually consider that as an opportunities rather than challenges or obstacles. I don't want to be making garments and selling that many standard odd minutes. I don't want to be working with tech packs. I don't want to be selling X number of cents per minute. What is my strength? And everybody really defined it yesterday. Design and development. We're great. We're actually very creative people. But up here, hands-on, we have very little understanding and knowledge of how to put it together and how to make it happen. Guys like Rajesh Beda and various other consultants can help you. Technologists can help you. But the idea is take from here and make it happen. I have a client, I'm not going to mention the names here. They were buying house, started out as a buying house. And they decided, we're new 6 years, 7 years ago. How do we make a differentiator out there? Rather than taking the order and then go into the vendors, and then let the vendors develop the samples, who doesn't understand the fit of that, and then we're going crossing fingers. He said, no. He created his own design house. He created his own people, and he said, you know what? My buyer is constant. He's always going to be, but his product lines are not constant. Today he wants blouses, then he wants dresses, then he wants shirts, then he wants pants. I'm going to be changing vendors. How am I going to teach every vendor what their fit is? I need to get that developed and get it right. So that was one objective. Get the fit done and get the sample approved in the shortest possible time, so you're taking the pain away of the buyer, right? But they added their own intelligence. They put the creative people, and they said, all right, this is our buyer. The guy is asking for a $5 blouse. We know that what kind of products he wants, but he doesn't understand what sourcing is within this region. When he's done a $5 blouse, he was already costed how many yards of thread is going to be in there. So I'm really left with very little margin. I have no room to play. If I'm deficient, I have to bear that from my margin. They're not going to compensate for my efficiency. But the other side is, what if I now created 5 more styles and send it back to them and say, by the way, in the $5 range, this is the $4.90, this is $5.25, this is this. And guess where is it going to go? Those 5 samples did not go to the people who do the costing. It went to the sales department, merchandisers. Can we sell this for $12? Yes, no. If yes, I get the order. But there my margin is different. But when you started doing that, and every month, 6 months later, stop. Or 8 months later, stop. Don't send it. Because now they got that taste of blood. So what happened? I didn't get more samples from you. Because they started counting on you. That's the first step of developing a long-term relationship. First keyword is taking the pain of your customer away, and they will stay with you. Shortening the ordering cycle. More and more factories are opening up in the United States. We just don't have sewing machine operators anymore. But if we could hire those people. In 2009, when everything was getting so hurt badly, we opened 800 factories in Los Angeles alone. Why? I need it now. It sells. I get the most margin out of that. It doesn't matter. Controlling your expenses and keeping the inventory levels at a very low. Inventory is a bad word. Labeling requirements. Today, the consumer laws in the United States, and I tell you, they really rule all over the world what they do about the consumer protection. Okay, so the fiber content, the country of origin, and most important, the identity of the manufacturer. Now it has to be on the label. It doesn't matter what supply chain and how did you go, but if you were the manufacturer, your identity has to be on there. Just very quickly, what it looks like and what are the regulations in there. Third-party testing. For any children's clothing, lead and stuff like that is already out. So if you're not responsible enough to be able to understand that market, don't even get into that business, okay? The importers and domestic manufacturers are legally responsible. For any domestic commerce, any shipments coming out, any products coming out, and the tracking of that label requires the name of the international factories. So this factory sourcing nonsense is already gone. So all the sourcing companies here, this is my, who have this is my factory, the manufacturers knows. As a matter of fact, H&M was the first one who published the entire list by country, every sourcing factory that they had. First one. The 10+2 ruling, As of January 2009, all importers are required to provide customs and border protection with required data elements 24 hours prior to loading for all shipments inbound to the United States, including all LDP shipments. Trade. LCs are out, guys. There's nobody doing LCs. Guys like trade card, factors, banks, they have taken over, but most of them is what we call a tri-party, okay? The exporter, the factor, and the bank, okay? The factors will advance you the money, depending on the credit of the buyer, up to 90%, so that you can get the things done, okay? So it's the same thing, but you don't have to put your house to the bank. You don't have to put your factory to the bank against the letter of credit. So it's making things a little easier. Banking is really, really hard. I ask any owner of the company, he spends 3/4 of his time working with the banks or banking-related issues. Am I right or wrong, guys? Today, the big guy gets bigger because they have a big credit line to be able to buy the fabrics. Money is a very important factor because the circulation of the money is 14 to 18 months before you see the return of your investment, okay? Purchasing. The U.S. factoring is widely used instrument, okay? So purchase of outstanding debt paid immediately. That's what the factors do. Anybody who knows about the factors? We can talk about it in the question and answers, okay? I wanted to talk about the marketplace. The fashion changes quickly. We've already just gone through. But the new trends happen every 10 weeks in our market. As a matter of fact, there's a market every month in New York. Every brand, every private label manufacturer goes to the market with anywhere from 100 to 1,500 samples to their showrooms. Buyers come in. It's really an organized sector. The buildings, the floors by categories, junior, blouses only. Everybody in that area was selling that. The buyers will walk through and they buy every month for next 10 weeks, for next 10 weeks, for next 10 weeks. Then you come back and find out how many were the dogs and how many were the runners in there, okay? That's when the production starts. The democracy of consumption, no one has to be rich today to be fashionable. It's available. Style, marketing, and delivery will determine the success. Style, marketing, and delivery. You can have the best products, you can't deliver on time, you just miss the opportunity. But make sure that you make enough money in there just to get an order. If you try to work without the profit, it's not effective anymore. You can have the best product, best marketing, best delivery, lousy profit, you'll go out of business anyway. There are regional preferences in the United States. What sells in Florida doesn't sell in New York. What sells in New York doesn't sell in the United States, every state. Go in the Midwest to San Francisco and Los Angeles, to different markets. So you have to understand where are you going to be selling, who you're designing for, who your customer is. Sizing is very important. People have different shapes, different sizes. If you don't understand, I have a client called Lane Bryant. Anybody knows Lane Bryant? Yeah, they make big sizes. We were in Sri Lanka, and they were going to make dresses. And then they looked at the tech pack. They said, can't be. I said, yes, they are. And American women are big, okay? And that brand sells to that. So if you're going to be in that market, you better understand who your market is. Labeling requirements, shipping costs, what is the U.S. Customs doing? But most important is intellectual property. Confirmation of valid trademark must be established. Make sure you are not putting somebody else's trademark, and make sure whatever trademark you've made, you've got it registered all over the world. That's the only thing where you have the protection. Maybe not in China, okay, but all over the world you do. Democracy of design. It doesn't matter. You know, the magazines are also working with internet. You know where you're gathering the information from? they're gathering the information from. Today, the world is a very small place. It travels all over very quickly. Where are these brands, the major brands like Jockey and Ralph Lauren and Nikes? You know what? They're going to continue. But there's not a huge growth expected. They have milked their market, and they are trying to stay within that market. They're working very hard. But the retailers who are doing the private label business, that's where the growth is. And this is being told by every possible research organizations. But the low recognized brands, they're on the decline. So either you are a brand or you're working with retailer who's a private label. Private labels are huge. You know any of these labels you know? Anybody works with these labels? And there are hundreds more. Even design like Bisou Bisou is sold in JCPenney. And Bisou Bisou just opened up in India. I understand there was a big celebrations. That's what the owners were telling me. Reliance just opened up here. Amazing brand, but in the United States, JCPenney sells that. Tommy Hilfiger, amazing brand, but in the United States, Macy's sell that. That's Macy's brand. That's not Tommy. Tommy has Tommy everywhere else, but in the United States, it's Macy's. So understand who your market is. Okay, just to review that, trademarks, establish a U.S. corporation. Why a U.S. corporation? And it takes only $800 to establish a company in the United States. That country, I love it. 25 years ago, I moved from Canada, and I was not even a citizen, a green card holder. And the country says, okay, you can come in, and free trade for you, free enterprise for you, and you want to kick our American companies rear end, come work with us. They allow you to do what you want to do when it talks about free enterprise is there. But if you want to do business with Americans, they want to do business with Americans or American companies. Most of the Chinese companies, Vietnamese companies, Sri Lankan companies have local offices, local people. They work with them. They work with the samples. If you think just because it's your morning, it's their midnight, they're not going to call you at that time. And you just lost a day. So you have to have people, you have to have somebody representative to work with you. U.S.-based customer service is one, but prices. They don't want to talk about FOBs. They want to talk about landed duty paid. There are services available who will do the warehousing for you, distribution for you. They'll even do invoicing for you. This is a great place where you can actually farm out. Los Angeles is considered to be the denim capital for the premium denim in the entire world. Most of the denim companies, denim brands, do not have a factory of their own. There are factories who will just do cutting, sewing, washing, finishing, even shipping. That's how diversified. But they are best at every cost center. And that's what we lack sometimes. Collectively, we make or lose money, but we don't have areas, okay? That country teaches a lot of things in that area. Successful brand entry, create a memorable logo. I think Jean covered that. Define a production capability. What's the point of going to a customer like Walmart if you can't produce it, the quantity? And presentation of product for a target category. Choose your poison. Choose your poison. But don't just go blindly because you will not succeed. Define yourself. Trust me, there's a huge competition out there, and everybody's on the same page at any given time. This was done at the same month. In Hong Kong, USA, Canada, France, even in China, they were all showing stripes on the front covers. That's how fast this thing travels. If you're not with it, you're not it. I love this quotation, and I'm going to close with that. Don, who's a great friend and a customer, he says, the secret of success is to use the best equipment, have the best design, train the best workforce, and educate the consumer with the branding. Okay. Any questions? The floor is open for Jean and myself.